Welcome to the Optimal Bio podcast. At Optimal Bio, we don't just balance your hormones, we balance your whole body. Our conversations range from nutrition to medicine with an emphasis on wellness tips to support your health journey. If you like what you hear, find us on the web at optimalbio.com and follow the podcast so you don't miss an episode. Thank you for joining another episode of the Optimal Bio podcast. I'm Tyler Brannon, CEO of Optimal Bio, and today I am joined with Nick Smith, the founder of Apollo Gum. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you for having us. Excited to be here.
Yeah, I can't wait to learn more about gum, and because I'm someone who used to swear by chewing gum, chewed it all the time. I stopped, so maybe you'll convince me to start again. So let's just start a little bit who you are and, how did you decide, hey, I want to start a gum company?
Yeah. Well, I studied finance and entrepreneurship in college, and you might wonder how can somebody major in entrepreneurship, because when you're starting a company and you're having conversations with investors, you don't hand them a degree in entrepreneurship. They want to see the proof of work and the value you have with your idea and how you can apply that capital and execute on the idea. So that was more so out of curiosity and wanting to learn about innovation and tinkering and things like that. So that was the entrepreneurship side, and then finance was just to have a general awareness of numbers and data and how the business side of things work.
Yeah, I think anyone and everyone should get a business degree. I don't care if you're going to be a doctor, a lawyer, what have you, that obviously you're going to learn when you're in it, but just having that foundation is so critical. I wish I was a business major, but I wasn't, but here we are, so I love that. And why did you pick entrepreneurship and finance at the age of, 18?
Yeah, I really connected with one of the professors, and he was just that guy who, if you see any movie or TV show about a college scene where a student really connects with the professor and they're interesting and they're the professor that'll get a beer with you, at the local pub, or just, walk you through ideas and really just kind of come alongside you and help your learning curve. This professor was that for me, and ultimately the reason why I became an entrepreneurship major.
That's awesome. That's really cool. And so you graduated college, and then what did you do after that?
I went into a traditional finance consulting job, left that after a few months, was ready to get onto newer and different things. And then the job I've had the past few years was focused on commodity trading. So that background with finance and then specifically certain types of commodities focused in agriculture helped me have an understanding about how this gum is harvested, which we'll get into later, because it's very natural. It's not artificial or chemical. So,
and that's the thing. Any experience is going to build on itself. Mm-hmm. Especially one of my sisters, she's starting college in the fall, and she's like, I don't know what my major should be. I don't know what I want to do. And I'm like, Lily, you're 18. No one knows, right? And the biggest thing is just putting in the work, learning, and then just building upon that, right? Mm-hmm. And then it all kind of comes together, whether it makes sense in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, it all makes sense.
Right. Well, and it's great if people know they want to specialize. That's awesome. But I think trying things and figuring out what you don't like is good, because being a generalist, we forget that being a generalist can be a great thing. The Greeks were generalists. They studied math, science, philosophy. All of that informed their lifestyle, their art. And that's why, so much of Western society is influenced by them because of the liberal arts.
Right. I know. Learning about your gum a little bit, it brought me back to school, Greek mythology and Roman, and I'm like, goodness. And I think we forget just in our everyday how structured we are based on that time.
Yeah. Our country is so young here in the U.S. We don't really know what it's like to have ancient practices. We're only a few generations old. And when you go to New York City and Washington, D.C. and look at the buildings, a lot of it is built on the Greco-Roman architecture.
Exactly.
Very much Greek roots.
Yeah. So since you brought up, Greece, let's jump into Apollo Gum. Yeah. So why gum, and why gum from Greece?
It's interesting. Gum is probably more part of everyone's lives than they like to admit. Whether you're walking to work or riding the subway, driving, or working out, or just as kind of an afternoon pick-me-up. If you don't want to have a soda or anything, you just put some gum in, and it's a little bit of a boost to get you from the 3 to 5 hours if that's what your work entails. But for me, I read about this online a few years ago and was just curious and went to this island The island's called Chios, Greece, and it's the 5th largest Greek island, but it's very rural.
Okay.
And they are known for producing this resin, this dried sap called mastic. And so I went over there, I met with the farmers, met with the growers, started talking with them and just learned.
Yeah.
And came back and decided I want to commit myself to this venture and bringing this to the United States. Yeah. And that's how we got here.
That's so cool. I love that. So let's start with, you met with the farmers. And so where do you get this sap, and what is the process from being on the farm to in one of your containers?
Sure. Well, these trees only grow on this island in Greece because of the special climate, and then the nutrient-rich soil, the minerals in the soil, because there were volcanoes, active volcanoes there at some point. So you could grow this tree elsewhere, but it would take a really long time for it to mature, and then there's no promise you could get the yield of the sap. So the way the farmer gets the sap out of the trees, you make these small incisions on the tree, these cuts, and the tree heals itself that way.
That's so interesting. And what people forget is nowadays we need to take supplements, right? Whether it be vitamin D, fish oil, magnesium. And it's like, well, why are we taking so many supplements? All of the supplements, all the minerals used to be in our soil, and then they stripped them. Yeah. But this soil seems to still be very rich. And why, you can try to plant this tree somewhere else, but you're not going to get the same results. That's
a great point. Yeah, it makes me think about, over farming and things of that nature. And thankfully, the Greeks are super proud of this. They've cultivated it for several thousands of years, and they know when to take a break, when to leave a plot alone for a few years. And also reminds me, in Israel, farmers every 7 years, going back to biblical times, will leave crops alone in the field and let a field recover on the 7th year. So the Greeks also have that appreciation for richness of soil. And
I think too, the fact that the tree can heal itself is like a testament to it is healthy, right? Because think about our bodies. We should be able to heal ourselves if we get the right nutrients, the right minerals, and the list goes on.
Right.
So mastic gum. Brief overview, and then we'll dive in. How is it different than the normal gum you'll find on the shopping counters?
It's very different. And I'm impressed by the Greeks with how many different uses they can come up with for the resin. When the resin, or another word for resin is, another word for the sap is resin. When it dries, it falls to the ground and it's in its most natural form and only needs to be cleaned by water. But the Greeks will use it in skincare. They'll crush it up as a powder to bake. They'll make a liquor out of it. And so it is chemically extremely different. There's no additives. We add nothing to it. We just believe it's, to use the phrase, it's nature's chewing gum. It doesn't need anything else. To the Western palate, someone might chew it at first and think, oh, it's bitter, because it is a little bit bitter at first, but bitter can be a really good thing. It's not going to taste like your 5 gums or any of these sugar-laden gums. It's got a very natural, earthy, piney flavor. It's used as a palate cleanser by the Greeks. It just has so many benefits. I could talk about, the experience of it, but you're really chewing this for the benefits. This isn't going to be something that's on, gas station shelves.
Right.
This is, a different product. And I think the way that we were intended to chew gum.
And so talk about some of the benefits, because I know you said GI, digestive, because a lot of people should take digestive bitters before eating, right? It helps our stomach acid. So let's go through, and especially because you said it can be in so many different products. So I want to how can it be different products and how can it help us?
Right. Well, I have a really close family friend in Athens. I kind of call them my Greek family. And the mother there, she teaches cooking at a local school. And she was telling me about all these cakes she could bake with the mastic powder. And so that was what sparked some of my interest when I visited there. But
and what does it take the place of? Like, would it just be like normal flour here?
Right. Yeah, it's extremely diverse. You can use it for so many different things. And the Greeks, back then we didn't have modern and industrial manufacturing. You had to be creative.
Yeah.
So they were.
And that's the thing, kind of what you talked about earlier, like how, Israel and Greece and many other countries still farm. Like we forget that industrial revolution in America really changed everything for us. We just take it as normal, but that's not normal. Like the 9-to-5 work day, things like that, how our food is processed now. And if you look at like the health of countries, it kind of says a lot.
What's crazy is that an 85% of gum on the shelves today, aspartame is in 85% of gum. And then when you look at what happens when your body metabolizes aspartame, it turns it into one of two chemical compounds, either methanol or it's titanium dioxide. These are both literally poison, used as antifreeze or engine lubricant. It's insane that here in the West we allow our people to consume these. In other better regulated societies, these wouldn't be an option.
Exactly. And that's what I don't think people realize is, when someone's asked like, oh, is X FDA approved? Well, look at the FDA approved list. All these chemicals, all these additives, all these dyes that aren't allowed in other countries. So like I always say, look at, say, a soda in Europe compared to a soda here. It's still soda, and I wouldn't recommend drinking it, but there's no additives, there's no chemicals, and there's sugar. And if someone's chewing gum every day, those chemicals are just adding and adding and adding. And as a society, we should be getting healthier, and we're getting so much sicker. These autoimmune issues, the cancer rates, right, that didn't exist 20, 30, 40 years ago. And it's like, well, what's causing that? And of course, there's many factors, but nutrition and what we're giving to our body is so, so key to this.
Very. And you might wonder how gum factors into that because, you don't swallow gum, but when your saliva interacts with something, it's still going into your gut. And so the good thing about mastic gum is that it's not taking anything bad into your gut and it's bringing good properties down in there. Primarily, the science is still pretty early, but it shows that it is effective in treating H. pylori, which is a bacteria in your gut that can lead to inflammation and has just caused trouble for several people in these studies. So that's a positive sign early on in some of the scientific research.
I need to be chewing this all the time. As someone who takes about 20 supplements a day just for my gut, maybe I need to start chewing this.
Yeah.
So let's talk about gut health. I think it's a very common topic. And I think especially we can't talk about it enough how dangerous an aspartame is, and it causes so many issues. And especially it's hidden because everyone knows it's in Diet Coke, right?
Right.
But you don't think it's in gum. So let's talk about the gut, the GI benefits of this.
Yeah, it mainly increases the diversity of the microbiomes in your gut. So that's what happens when you go to a different country and you try new food or new water. Sometimes it's too much at one time, and that causes you to react because we have these very watered down Western guts and diets. And, if you're living in a Greek island in the Mediterranean or trying things from different islands, and you've got a very healthy gut. So diversity is important. If you're consuming food from the same 5 big food companies that use the same chemicals because they have contracts with these large chemical companies who are subsidized by the government, you are being fed the same pipeline of chemical sludge.
Exactly.
So I think at a bare minimum, you might try this gum, you might hate the taste and that might be it for you.
Yeah.
But at the bare minimum, it's a healthy way to diversify your gut microbiomes.
That's amazing. And yeah, I love that you said that. There's 5 companies literally in the world who owned basically all the companies. And it's between our chemicals, our food supply, our beauty products, which we're ingesting or putting on our skin. So I think it's really, we're so big on education. We're just do your research. I think, social media, Google can get a bad rap, which there's many negatives, but there's a lot of positives that you can just do a little research. And once you start seeing different things, you're connecting the story of why are we getting sicker, the ingredients in food, and it makes sense.
Well, just like you guys are, using VHRT to reduce the degenerative side effects of aging, we're not, with the benefits of Apollo, we're not immune to the general course of life, right? We know that people are going to age and, you may get wrinkles and
hopefully not, right?
Hopefully not. Yeah. But if you chew this gum, it'll just naturally help delay that a little bit. There's a phrase, if you don't use it, you lose it. And so chewing mastic gum really helps the masseter muscle and just increases the tonality of your face. Because we don't think about it, but the muscles in our face need to work out as well. And so when you think about muscles that you want to lift, maybe someone wants to do legs or do upper body, the face is the last thing that people think of.
Mm-hmm. Or they just think about injections, right?
Right.
And not really fixing the root cause because yes, aging is going to happen and it's amazing to age, right? Because the alternative is not good. But when we think of being sick, aging, that's because aging can be a disease, right? So how can we be preventative and give our bodies the best tools to keep, aging, I say gracefully, right? Like I want to be the 75-year-old lady that's still hiking. Like I was in Switzerland last summer and it is incredible. There's 80, 90-year-old women and men hiking.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, yes, because like you said, you have to keep using your body and fueling it properly.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about your face muscles. And I guess it's like all the rage on TikTok these days about a jaw. I don't have TikTok. I'm too old for TikTok. So you need to, keep let me know, speed it up for me.
Yeah.
What's going on with TikTok? And then really talk about the actual benefits of your facial muscles.
I also am not on TikTok.
Okay, good. Okay, we have that.
I'm not going to be handling that side of the business for us, but I am aware of the trends.
Yeah.
But I read the other day that some think the masseter muscle is pound for pound the strongest muscle in your face or in your body, excuse me.
Yeah.
Which is super interesting. And so
just think about what it's used for, right?
Exactly. And people say that, mastic gum can be sort of a additional solution to the practice of mewing, which is just keeping your tongue on the roof of your mouth.
Yes.
And so if in the West, and this goes to say for me, I'm working on changing this, but our resting tongue posture is in the bottom of our mouth.
Yeah.
And so if you start to rest the tongue on the top of your mouth, you'll notice your face change slightly. And as you know, with habits, they compound over time.
Right.
If you keep doing it, you're going to notice results over time. And that's the thing too. This is not a cheap, quick, and easy fix. It's going to take consistency, chewing a little bit every day. And over a few months, you'll notice a natural difference. This is not plastic surgery or things of that nature.
I don't think anything that's a quick fix is a good thing. Right. So, And so, it's funny about the whole tongue thing. So I have really bad TMJ. So does one of my sisters, and she was at the doctor a few months ago, and they were talking about the tongue position. And I was like, I've never thought about that. Right. So now whenever I'm just sitting, because I clench my jaw, I'm just like, wait, where's my tongue?
I have TMJ as well. The little clicking when you open and close your mouth, and for big bites. So for me, when I would have a raw steak and chew that would be a big deal. Put some stress on your jaw and on your mouth and your tongue. But I think since I started chewing this about 2 years ago, a little bit every day has helped me, or every other day. It's like if you wanted to, fix a leg in your muscle that you haven't used in a while, maybe you had a desk job, you start by walking and you jog a little bit, and then you can go to running as necessary. So
that's so interesting, because one of the original reasons before I really knew about all the chemicals in gum, I stopped chewing gum because of my jaw, and I thought it would mess it up more. And so you're saying it actually helps heal your TMJ.
Yeah. Just going at your own pace, self-pacing. I've found that when I chew in the afternoons before a big meal, that it helps in digestion because of the properties of increasing your gut microbiome. And then as well, just from the mechanical part of using your jaw to chew things up better. And also, not to mention, the Western lifestyle is extremely rushed. We eat too fast. We don't chew, we don't take times at our meals. So that's been a huge revelation for me, is that you need to take time with these things.
One of my friends was having stomach issues, and one of the main things, I'm like, you literally eat in 4 minutes. You can't do that. And so we are so rushed. But again, that's what we're used to. Right. And I'm a very fast person, so I get that. But eating, I eat so slow. But it's just, I think, because anything that's common or normal, we just think is the way we should do it. But really, it's that's not the way we should do it, right?
In your travels, because you're traveling a lot with Optimal Bio, I know you guys are growing. And what have you picked up on different cultures, things they do well, maybe even different subcultures in the U.S. where they maybe do things a little slower and don't prioritize, gain or saving 5 minutes of time, but they do things the right way, the slow way? That's
a good question, because I don't know when I've been slow when I'm traveling. Yeah. I would say maybe Charleston. Charleston, you can go out on a Monday, go to dinner, and the restaurant's so filled. And I think so they really prioritize community and getting to know your neighbors, your friends. So I would say Charleston is very much, I see that. Also, Charlottesville, Virginia. Because I travel during the week. And so if I'm out to dinner on a Monday, I always think if I was at home, I wouldn't be at dinner. Right.
Right.
So I think it's interesting. And I go to pretty much the same restaurants. And I feel like, your bartender, like a restaurant in Charlottesville, I got the bartender a bottle of wine for Christmas because I saw him all the time.
Yeah.
So I would say those two, but that's interesting to think about. We are thinking of opening in Austin because when I'm there, there's such focus on wellness and going back to that preventative healthcare and not just the traditional medicine really caught my eye with why Optimal Bio should be there.
Yeah, that's interesting you say that. We just moved to Austin as well.
Yeah.
That's where we are based out of now. And the mission of the company with Apollo is to inspire a renaissance of health, wellness, and beauty.
I love that.
So you might wonder, how can we start doing that with gum? It's just a small start to what I think is a huge journey, a mission we have that let's really look at what habits people did in these Greco-Roman eras or in these different communities where things were a little slower and you appreciate time, because it takes a year to cultivate this gum, and you only see a little bit of it, in your hand if you're a farmer coming from a tree, and you spend all this time cleaning the tree and pruning it, and it feels like a small reward, but they value this very much, and so that aligns well with our mission of what we want to inspire, kind of a renaissance here in the West.
And I really feel like it's happening little by little. I think that's one of the silver linings of the past few years. People are kind of getting back to, wait, what makes sense with wellness? Not just what we're being told. And it's little by little, right? It's just like, okay, add the gum, add walking. And then what does that mean for you? And I think that's, people miss it. It's like the journey and the process is the fun part, right? You're going to have peaks, valleys, but how do you just add and like build upon it and not just be like, okay, I'm going to go not eat sugar for the rest of my life. It's like, okay, let's make this a lifestyle. And I think people forget or don't fully realize because they may feel just like, whatever, like any day, like your health is a foundation for like your personal life, your professional life. Like if you don't have your health, how are you going to build upon and grow in different areas?
Absolutely. And one thing I noticed that was super unique in Greece is that every fall when they harvest the gum, 90-year-old women will come back from their different towns in Greece. Maybe they moved to Athens or another island. They'll come back to Chios with the women they grew up with, and they'll harvest together and they'll share stories. Some of them have been harvesting mastic for, 87, 88 years.
That's incredible. Little girls. And like they're a blue zone, right? People in that area live forever and ever. And you look at community, they're gut, microbiome, their food, just how they move their bodies, right?
Right.
I think a big talk too about like, say, women's health specifically right now is like your cycle and how you work out and how you fast to it. And it's a huge part about slowing down, which is like a very, very interesting concept. That
makes a lot of sense. They work hard in the morning, take a nice 2-3 hour lunch, work hard again in the afternoon, and then have a nice glass of wine, and they're walking up and down hills.
Exactly. And like, that's why like fasting is like such a huge thing. So important. But like, that's how everyone used to eat. They used to fast, right? They used to eat breakfast, work in the field, eat dinner, go to bed, and that was their fast. It wasn't how we were taught to eat,
right?
Which has so many negative impacts, right?
Exactly. And then they didn't have blue light screens either, affecting things, chemically, in their bodies. They rose and went to bed with the sun. Yep. And so, it's been fun for me to go to Greece and see the rhythms of these mastic farmers. And
I feel like I need to come on a business trip with you.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, absolutely.
So let's go back to the harvesting. So from harvesting to your product, like what does that cycle look like?
For sure. We take extreme care to preserve the quality, and most of what's involved with that is temperature control. And so we're really being cautious with when we would pack an order from when we get, that transaction that goes through on our store from when we pack and send it. Because, if it gets warm, it'll clump together, and that's not irreversible damage there, but you just need to cool it back down. But a way you can tell what's good mastic and what's bad is if it's white and kind of soft. The nickname for mastic is white gold because it's so rare and hard to cultivate. that this island was, invaded and changed hands from empire to empire, whether it was the Turks or the Greeks or the Romans. So it's really hard to make, but it's very valuable. And so on our end, we really take care in that and preserving the quality. There are other, areas, origins that will claim they make mastic gum, but unless it's from Chios, Greece, where we get ours, it's not legit.
Yeah.
It's probably laced with other sap or older and yellow and brittle.
Right. And so do you like work with certain farmers there, or what's that process?
Yeah. So the Chios Mastic Growers Association is the co-op there that works with the farmers. And if it's not coming from them, then it's not legit. So if you're looking at mastic gum for the first time and you want to go on Amazon, you're going to see a lot of fraudulent suppliers on there. So while I would like to plug us as an option, if you're going to buy from anywhere as a source, Chios, Greece is the place to be.
Yeah, I would say number one, do not buy any supplements, beauty products, gum on Amazon, because there's no regulations.
Yeah, absolutely. It's as a business side, it's certainly an option that's attractive to people and they can't turn it down. But that's one reason we're not on Amazon is we want to control our brand. And so we feel that's the best way to do so. And we don't want to just bend the knee there. We want to control the brand.
Absolutely not, because you care. Like, you're a mission-driven company, right? And so you're creating this for a reason. And you can't just then, take that away. And then without the control, it can turn into so many negative things and take away from, what you guys are building now.
Right. Exactly. This is so mission driven. We're not doing this for the money. This felt like something I had to do.
Yeah.
I've been telling so many of my friends and family about this, and it's such a prevalent product for me. I have, asthma and issues with my airways, a deviated septum. And so when you look at how connected all of that is, and how the Western diet has kind of failed me to start, that's when a few years ago I started radically changing my life. And this was a small part of that.
Yeah, I think people forget our body works together, right? And so especially your mouth is connected to your gut, your heart, your brain, your sinuses. And so, since you started chewing this gum, what would you say the top 3 benefits that you've noticed for yourself?
Great point. Well, aesthetic is one that might attract people to the gum. I've noticed my jawline get a little bit more robust, but I would say the best parts are the health benefits. Just being able to, know that I'm expanding my airways. I am helping my tongue posture out. I'm kind of returning the shape of my mouth to what folks a couple hundred years ago, pre-industrial revolution had with eating a little bit more raw fruits and vegetables, meats. If you look at the teeth of Aboriginals or people on remote islands, they're perfect. Right. They don't need braces. Yeah. And so that's a modern problem.
That's interesting. I didn't even think about that. You never see old pictures with crooked teeth.
No, you don't. And that's one thing is we can be arrogant in our innovation sometimes because modern solutions often create more problems that we have to solve. And that's what I think the Industrial Revolution did. It was great in many ways, but now that we have the ability to think critically about that, we should.
100%. And, you kind of mentioned it might be bitter. So let's say this is your first time chewing the gum. What should be our expectations and how should we add it so that we're not oh, it's bitter, I don't want it. How we can keep it a lifestyle thing for us.
Great question. So if you have ever, been to the Mediterranean, or even if you haven't, that there are certain foods or drinks with bitter flavors. One that's popular in Italy is the Campari Spritz. It's a popular cocktail, and it's got this Campari syrup. Campari is bitter. I would expect a bitter start, first 5 to 10 seconds. And once you chew the gum up, because it's this hard resin, it looks like rocks, but it's not hard. It's not going to damage your teeth. Once you chew it up, then it's into a normal kind of bolus of gum after that. So the texture will be like gum, but it's not like gum in the fact that you can keep chewing it. It's resistant for a while. So if you put a store-bought cheap chemical gum in, you're going to be uninterested after 15 minutes and you're going to throw it out. And part of that is, quite frankly, a business play by them. They don't want it to be lasting.
Right.
So a tin of gum with us can last you, a month and a half if you're chewing every day. And so put 1 or 2 pieces in, expect a bitter start, and then throughout it's going to have a smooth, refreshing, kind of piney, earthy flavor. So you could use it as a quick palate cleanser before or after a meal,
Yeah.
or, you can use it as something to chew for a couple hours if you want those extended benefits. But it's definitely an acquired taste because in the West, we aren't used to it.
Right, and that's the thing. So, one, because I should take digestive bitters before I eat, and I always forget because I'm taking other supplements. So just having this like pop in real quick, seems like such a great idea, because like we cannot harp on enough how important digestion is for nutrients, how you feel, right? But also talking about our taste buds, we're so used to so much sugar, so many additive things, and so once you start removing those out of your diet, if you eat like something super sweet, like you don't want it anymore, right?
Absolutely. It's nice to train your body, because the body is so amazing. It will mostly take care of itself.
Yep.
And if you train it to not want those fake chemical foods,
Exactly.
once you have them again, your body just rejects.
Right.
And once you have a fresh salad, maybe this is just a me thing. If you have a fresh salad in the Mediterranean, it's almost like dessert. When you get sweet vegetables in there, maybe a fresh seasonal fruit, that's as nature intended. There's a reason, pre-industrial revolution, kids would get clementines or oranges or apples in their stockings, because that is nature's sweet.
And if people want to be honest, they don't feel good eating bad food.
Right.
Like I don't eat gluten anymore. And so people are like, oh, do you miss X? And I'm like, no, like I felt so sick. So like, why do you want to feel bad? Right. So I think just training our mind, like what this Apollo gum is supposed to be. Right. And just understanding the benefits. If I understand a why, like I'm all in. And I think that's helpful. So it's not like you can't eat X. It's like you should eat Y because it's going to help you. You're going to feel better, et cetera, et cetera.
Absolutely. And in my day job, visiting, agricultural manufacturing sites, you see how things are made.
Yeah.
And I would assume that the average person who chews, a large brand's gum, if they saw how it was made, that'd be the last time they ever used it. It looks like you go to a place and they're manufacturing oil or just mass, epoxy, or just these chemicals that are warm, and it looks like it should not be consumed by a human.
Right, and it is.
And it is.
Are these like horses' hooves and gum or something?
I'm not sure about that.
Or is that like the tail?
I hope not. I hope not.
I don't
Definitely
know.
not in ours.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. We know not yours. Yours is from a tree. And so when the farmers, back to the farmers, I'm just like, so I love a process. And so that's why I'm so curious. So if you like have an order, how do you know like when you can actually fulfill that order? Because I'm assuming you want to be in Whole Foods, Erewhon, in the future.
Yeah, great point. We try and really forecast well when we think, orders may go up or things may slow down. We work closely with the association over in HEOS to know when to place an order. So, business has been good, and we were just in conversation with them, and they said, maybe wait a little bit for it to cool down so we can ship you something quickly, and the transit time will be fast.
Okay.
So we just work closely with them in that, and sometimes that may take, longer from when you may order to when it may get to your door, but it's done with care in mind.
Right.
And these farmers are so impressive just with how because I've been there multiple times of the year, and just with how they treat their groves, and it's really hard work. It's literally backbreaking work. They're not in a combine or a tractor or using tools. They have a bucket. They have a rake, a hoe, a brush to brush out all the farm material under the tree. And they are on their hands and knees, bent over in the hot Greek sun, really taking care of these trees. Yeah. So that's why, this is a premium product. It's a extremely difficult process, but the result is something so beautiful that they call it white gold.
And there's so much science to how you prepare your food. And so, because then it affects your body differently. And that's why you should definitely, say cook at home more than a restaurant. I need to listen to that advice, but not even from obviously the oils they're using, what have you, but just how the food is prepared impacts your body differently, which I think is incredible. And this just shows that like the care that is being created directly impacts how it's going to affect our body.
Absolutely. I lived in Mexico for a bit before, and we walk out in our backyard, grab a lime off the tree and use that, in our tacos or just to make lime juice. Yeah. And that was so satisfying.
Right.
Much more satisfying than going to a store. And I think you're right. There are people and brands trying to go back to that. There's a cool brand in Austin called Ziki, Ziki. And they use no seed oils in their cooking. It's Greek and Mexican fusion, which are two of my most favorite foods. And so, and they, there are about some of the similar values that we've been discussing.
That's the thing about Austin. There's so many restaurants that don't do any seed oils, and you can just get whatever on the menu, which I love. And like I was at one restaurant there, True Food, I think.
Yeah.
And they had this like healthy key lime pie. I love key lime. It was the best thing ever. I didn't feel sick after.
Yeah.
I was like, this is heaven. I'm like, I need to move to Austin immediately.
Yeah, probably the reason I went. I was excited about the food options as well, and it's a unique culture where a lot of, like I said, a lot of fusion happens, and that's one of the reasons why we moved down there as well, because we don't want to miss out on what's going on down there.
No, I love that. That's why Optimal Bio will be hopefully be there soon as well.
Yeah.
So let's kind of switch to Apollo Gum. I love talking about business. I love talking to founders. So when did you officially launch, or have you officially launched?
We officially launched June 29th.
Okay.
It's been exciting.
Yeah.
Seeing the reviews, everything's been great so far. And, there's always going to be consumers that just want to have their gum off the shelves, and that's fine. But so far, those who have tried it have loved it and have been asking great questions. And so, to last, we will need to be a viable business. I'm taking that very seriously, but we're mission driven, customer first. And so if you ever have any questions, that want to reach out directly, we're active on site, on social media, and on our website as well. So
so not every customer is going to like you, right? And I think that's such an important reminder in life, but especially business. You have to be intentional of what you're doing, who you want to buy your product. Of course, you want everyone, but if you're everyone to everyone, what are you going to do, right?
Right. And then we are a premium product. And we can say confidently, and this is stamped by the HEOS Mastic Growers Association, that we buy the best mastic gum on earth. You cannot get a better grade or a better cut than the kind we buy. As with other goods or commodities, there are certain cuts and grades, and we buy the best kind. And you're going to get nothing but the best from us. We're not going to compromise on that. Of course, there's competition, and that's good. That's good for the industry. I don't want to be a company that sets out to have 100% market share, but I want to deliver the best value to our customers, and we're confident we're doing that.
Competition's good. It makes you better, right?
Right.
And like you said, because you want to be intentional, you have your standards, and if you want to try to be everything, then you're not going to be anything. So tell me, how are you different than other companies out there?
Right. Well, we pride ourselves on having the best customer service. So we're going to answer you very fast if you have a question about the product, or you want to learn, maybe how to use it differently. And like I said, we buy the best stuff on the market. So you're not going to get a laced product for us. You're not going to get short sold on weight. We're going to bring the best to the table every time, and we're confident in that. And we want to build a unique brand where we educate you on all the benefits, because we're also continuing to learn. Like I said, it's a very early time to be chewing mastic in the West, because our Western research is new. And so it's exciting. We want to educate you through that. We want to educate you through humor. It's funny. This is a hardened sap gum you chew, and it's non-traditional, and it's going to change how you look, and there's jokes and memes to make about that. So we want to be a brand that's fun to interact with. And
you mentioned earlier about the case studies that you were doing. Is that your company that's doing it, or like the farmers that are doing it to see the benefits of the mastic gum?
Yeah. So there's research in Europe, because this is a protected product in Europe. Okay. So it's been designated as a protected product to get additional funding for research and protection. So they take it very seriously over there, and they're executing those studies. I think over time, one of the most common questions we've had is, can you add flavor?
Yeah.
Well, maybe down the line, but that would be something we would get into. But right now, we just want to do natural mastic gum the best. And, it has its own unique flavor. It doesn't need flavor added. Maybe down the line, someone would like a mint or a natural lemon. But, this is we think the best form of gum right now, nature's chewing gum that we're working with. So we don't see a need to fix it.
And being intentional, I think, is the key to success, right? To have that discipline, to have that structure. So that's exciting. So tell me, what does it look like for the next year, next 6 months for Apollo Gum?
Right. We don't have any crazy expectations. Yeah. We just want to service our customers better than anyone else. We want them, if they're new to mastic gum or trying it out and they take the leap of faith and they make that purchase, we want them to be really happy with our product, and then too, if they choose to get started on the journey of committing to using this consistently and experiencing those long-term benefits, we want to be alongside them in that. We want to encourage them to be consistent. We want to encourage discipline when you may feel like, I don't want to do this anymore. So we really are mission driven, and we want to be in the journey with our customer. It's not about money. It's not about the business side for us. Yes, it requires that to last, but this all was born out of, a community of like-minded people who want to have that renaissance of health, wellness, and beauty. And so we're on a mission with that. And we just want to partner with some people who feel the same way.
I love that. Your focus on science, right? Your focus on wellness and being intentional with that, and the education, I think, is huge. It's like, hey, this is what we do. This is why. We can answer your questions, and then we can go from there. So if anyone wants to learn more about Apollo Gum or order your gum, because you've convinced me I'm going to choose some on my way to the airport, where can we find you?
Sure. We're at apollogum.com. And on our socials, we're as Apollo Gum Co. So you can find us there. Like I said, we're very quick to respond. We want to develop a relationship with all of our customers. And so if you have any questions or want to ask anything or get to know us, we're extremely active there. So don't feel afraid to reach out.
I love that. I can't wait to be walking down Whole Foods and see your gum there.
Yeah.
I'm excited. So thank you so much for joining. This was awesome. And we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Tyler. It was awesome. Thank you.
This has been a production of Optimal Bio. Optimal Bio is CEO Tyler Brandon, podcast host and partner Jim Baker, medical director Greg Brandon, production assistance by Core Media, Beth Grabencourt, administrator, Kevin Duthu, executive producer. The podcast can be found on our website, optimalbio.com, on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Our theme song is Sunwave by Paradiso, provided by Epidemic Sound.